All right. Welcome everyone to the regularly scheduled Wenham Board of Selectmen meeting of September 22nd, 2020 at 6:37 p.m. Sorry for a little bit of a delay here, technological difficulties. First, I see Mike Therian in the chat room, and that I want to acknowledge our condolences to his wife, Martha Cheeseman, who passed away last Friday, and Gary Cheeseman's sister as well. We're very, very sorry to hear that, and our sympathies go out to you, Mike, and Gary.
Thanks, Jack. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you for being on here tonight. So first we have announcements.
They're up on the screen now, Jack, if you want.
Oh, good. Open Space and Rec Committee Public Trail Map. Wynn Dodge would love this one. I bet you he could probably read it for me. At the 2019 annual town meeting, Wenham residents approved the use of the $6,000 in Community Preservation Act funding for the Open Space and Rec Committee's trail mapping project. His father would have been very appreciative as well. The committee, along with several volunteers, walked the trails from September through November 2019. In order to complete the mapping, everyone is encouraged to use this valuable tool for navigating our open space in Wenham, available at wenhammass.gov. Committee also, I got something here blocking me. Hold on. Anyway, the infrastructure, the committee is available. The committee is also something or other. I got to get this.
Created an infrastructure and maintenance map.
Yeah, that will be used internally for planning and upkeep. Please contact Missy Berry, Conservation and Open Space Coordinator, with any questions at mberry@wenhammass.gov or 978-468-5520, extension 8. All righty. The next one is my favorite annually. The Household Hazardous Waste Collection Day, Saturday, September 3rd, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Hamilton Wenham residents are invited to bring all household hazardous waste to the Hamilton DPW yard at 577 Bay Road on Saturday, October 3rd, 2020, from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Payment can be made by check only and payable to the town of Hamilton. Please wear a mask and do not exit your vehicle. A full list of acceptable items is available here in our meeting packet and in recent. So any additional information, please call the DPW department at 978-468-5520, extension 6. I'll be there, that's sure. Okay. Request for letters of interest for boards and committee openings. We go through this every meeting because there's a lot of meetings that don't have people. We have a conservation committee commission, and that let's see, let's see how many openings do we, oh please, conservation commission, how many openings do we have on there? It doesn't say. Anthony?
No, I don't have that information, Jack. There's at least one position on each one of those boards.
Hamilton Wenham, next time maybe we can put that down. Hamilton Wenham Community Access and Media, that's another committee. Cultural Council, Open Space and Rec Committee, Veterans Committee, Wenham Connects Committee, and Zoning Board of Appeals associate members. I believe we have 3 allowed associate members for the ZBA, but we have no associate members. You don't have to have a law degree. We prefer someone with architectural experience or a law background, but anybody who's lived in town, who's an open mind, we'd be pleased to entertain your letter of interest. You can send an email, not necessarily a formal letter, just stating your name, your address, where you live in town, address, and why you're interested in this committee, and any of these committees actually, but particularly the Zoning Board of Appeals associate member. We used to have 2 or 3, now we have none. So it's very, very important to have somebody, associate member, because if a full member manages not to attend all the meetings, and the associate member has to take that person's place, which happens frequently, unfortunately. Okay. Please, when volunteer night, for more information. Okay. Next, we have,
Me.
you. Go ahead.
All right. So a few things for tonight. First up is senior care. The senior care board of directors, upon the recommendation of their senior management team, will be awarding the annual board of directors award to 9 council on aging and senior center directors, including our own COA director, Jim Reynolds. Congratulations, Jim. Well deserved. And it was very hard. Second item is our DPW director, Bill Tyack, has informed us of his intention to retire on January 2nd, 2021, after serving in his current role for almost 15 years. I think we all know the tremendous asset that Bill is to the town of Wenham and has been. And the last thing, Wenham has partnered with Casella for 2 rounds of bagged leaf collection this fall. It's on Saturday, November 21st and Sunday, December 5th. All leaves must be placed in a brown paper bags or in barrels and on the curb by 7 a.m. on collection days. Please, no plastic bags or brush mixed in with the leaves. Loose leaves on the curb will not be collected. And that's all I have from my end. No more.
So, lots of problems with that. I think we have to repeat that every single time we have a meeting.
It will be,
Yes.
it's going to be on our website. It's also will be on social media. We're really going to try to remind the folks that town meeting didn't authorize that. So we're going to the bag collection. So we will do that. I think you're right, Jack.
Maybe we're gonna have that big sign up outside the fire department.
Yeah, no, we are going to switch that, Jack. This just happened. So that is on our agenda. We'll put that up there too, so residents can know.
Yeah, because we're gonna have lots of complaints about that.
Yeah, we will do that.
You didn't tell me that. So you can't miss that sign, by the way. So that was a great CARES, that was a great acquisition, your part, Anthony, from the CARES funds. And then we didn't cost us any money at all. That's good. Anything else you want to talk about, Anthony?
Nope, that's it, Jack. On to Gary.
All right, so
Well,
I've got the consent agenda tonight then, Jack.
I'm sorry,
So I'll go ahead with the consent agenda.
please.
Yes, so we have the meeting minutes for the open session on August 25th and September 8th, and the executive session for September 8th. So I'll move that the Board of Selectmen vote to approve the consent agenda for those 3 dates: open session August 25th, September 8th for the open session, and the executive session on September 8th, the last to be held for the time being. Do I hear a second?
I'll second your motion.
All right, John's on. Thank you. And the vote,
All in favor?
Clemente, yes.
Cheeseman, yes.
Okay, unanimous.
Mhm.
Usual. Okay, let's see. We have the annual town election applicants, joint meeting with the Wenham Housing Authority.
Yeah.
Wenham
Tonight,
Housing Authority here for have a joint meeting,
I believe they are here. If they can,
virtually at least.
yeah, unmute themselves. This is a joint appointment to the Wenham Housing Authority. The appointment will be until the annual election on May 6th. We have 2 applicants for the position. We have Martha Carr and Mike Ferrian. So what we first need is for the Housing Authority to open their meeting by roll call, and then you can start your joint meeting, discuss these candidates, and then vote, and then they'll close their meeting and we'll continue on with ours.
It's not clear from the agenda how many positions are open. Are there 2 positions that are open or just one?
There's one position open.
So we have 2 applicants, Martha Carr and Mike Therian, right?
Correct.
Thank you. Go ahead.
So the chairman of the Housing Authority. They can unmute themselves.
Bruce, unmute.
Elizabeth, you a member?
Yes, I am.
All right. I don't see Bruce. Is he on here? Let me look.
I thought he was.
Was earlier.
Oh, yeah, I see
I
him.
see Bruce.
Bruce is on and he is trying to speak, but I can't get it. I have unmuted him, but I don't, it looks like his microphone's not registering. So he's here and he can nod at us, right, Bruce?
All right, so Elizabeth, are you the vice chair?
I am.
All right, so then if you could just open the meeting and,
Well, since I've never done this before, do I just say I am opening up the Housing Authority meeting?
that's perfect. And you just want to take a roll call vote of your members present.
All right.
Bruce is here,
Well-
we know that.
Bruce is here. Suzanne?
Elizabeth, Suzanne's here. Her mic is off though.
I know that Sue Herrick was going to be absent. She wanted to cast an absentee ballot or vote.
Yeah, there's only members present. So she can't do that.
Oh, I see. Well, do we have a quorum then?
That's fine, yeah. Yes.
There's
you're
3 of
fine.
us.
All right, Jack, so there's 2 candidates. There's the Housing Authority is present. The vote is a joint vote with the Board of Selectmen and those present of the Housing Authority.
So maybe the Housing Authority can continue?
Are we going to have the candidates make a statement?
If they wish, yes.
And we have both of them here. We have Michael and Martha.
I see
Michael's
Michael.
here.
Do we have Martha Carr?
I don't see her.
No,
Well, why don't we have
Uh,
Michael introduce himself then?
I need a bit of advice here. What are our next steps?
So Mike can introduce himself. I know Paula is on and Paula had conversations with Martha, so maybe Paula can, after Mike introduces himself, Paula can introduce Martha from what she knows.
Good, all right.
and then after that, a motion is to be made.
Yes.
So do we adjourn for a private meeting or do we?
No. So Mike, go ahead and introduce yourself to both boards.
Yeah. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for the opportunity. I was seeking an appointment for the Wenham Housing Authority. I had discussions with the director this morning. She gave me quite an education on the Housing Authority and what the board does. I'm seeking a position because my parents were in, both my mother and father were in affordable, what I call senior housing. And it was the same situation in terms of what they did and how you take care of the folks there. You give them housing that's safe, reliable, and gives them back their dignity, or at least them keep their dignity. So that was really great and I appreciate that. I'm just getting off of a 6-year term limit off the Finance Committee, and I wanted to still volunteer and give back to the town. And I saw the Housing Authority as a good way of trying to remember and help seniors and probably provide some help and expertise to the authority. And thank you for the opportunity again.
Michael? Martha Carr is not on, is that correct?
No, I'm here.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
good,
am, I'm here.
good.
Can you hear me?
We can
We
see
can
hear
you.
you. Both.
Oh, well, at least you can hear me.
We can see you as well.
Oh,
Okay, oh, good, oh, good. First of
yes, now
all,
we can see you. Yep.
oh, good. First of all, I'd like to issue my condolences to Mike on the loss of his wife. And also to thank him for his service and all those that continue to serve us. As far as the Wenham Housing Authority, I am a direct neighbor, have lived here for 42 years with them as my neighbors, have been involved in many of their activities, and still have friends there. Our family members have lived there. I feel very strongly that they are well-run and well-maintained. And as neighbors, that's very important to us. And I would hope to support the director and the project she would like to undertake. And I thank you for your consideration.
Great. Now who, Anthony, who's going to make the motion?
I'll, the motion is right underneath there and now, if you want to deliberate or if you're ready for a motion, put forward.
I'll get to the blank part. Move the Board of Selectmen and the remaining, how many members do we have on the Housing Authority Board present with us to vote?
3.
Great. Yeah.
We have 3 selectmen, so it's 6 members altogether. We need a 4-2 vote here. I'll start again. Move that the Board of Selectmen and remaining members of the Wenham Housing Authority vote pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 121B, Section 5, Chapter 41, Section 11, to appoint blank. Anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we make an appointment for our open Housing Authority Board position.
Yeah, we have to name a name.
Oh, well. Martha Carr. I make a motion that we vote on Martha Carr.
Okay. This is kind of awkward. And
Well,
Any
I really
further
don't know what I'm doing.
Well,
So
any further, is there any further discussion or questions?
no, wait, hold it. I'm going to make a similar motion to Mike Theory, and then that. I'm going to move the Board of Selectmen and remaining members of the Wenham Board of Selectmen vote pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 131B, Section 5, Section 31, to appoint Mike Theory to fill the vacancy in the Housing Board until May 6, 2021. So we have 2 people. They are both moved, and so it's up to the joint members of both the Board of Selectmen and the Wenham Housing Authority to select one of the 2 with 3 members each. So this is kind of awkward, obviously, and that I'm going to turn this over to Anthony to solve this this riddle here.
All right, so first of all, you have 2 motions, and I don't think I heard a second on either one. So somebody.
Okay, back to the Housing Authority. Do I hear a second on your motion, Martha?
Second on Martha Carr's appointment.
All
And
right,
I'll second Mike Therian. And that, so now we have 2 applicants with 2 motions, 2 seconds. I'm trying to make this even as I can in that.
I know. So you take up one motion at a time. So Elizabeth's motion was seconded by Suzanne first. So I would call for a vote on that one, and then if it, I call for a vote on that one first.
Okay,
It was the first motion. You can't have 2 motions. So,
I'm trying to make it even,
right, I know.
trying to. Are we going to have a 3-3 vote here? I don't know. I presume the Housing Authority is going to vote for your candidate. And go ahead. Housing.
well, I didn't really propose that it was our candidate. I guess I really didn't know how I was supposed to present that motion.
Yeah.
Well, either do we.
So let's take up there's a motion and a second for Martha
Yeah, okay.
Carr. So all in favor of Martha Carr, it has to be a roll call vote. So I'll start with the Housing Authority. Just say your name and yes or no.
Suzanne, yes to Marty Carr.
How are we going to have Bruce's vote?
Can't vote. He's not here.
He just raised his hand. All right. All right.
You got another one.
Who's next in the Housing Authority?
This is Elizabeth. I vote for Martha Carr.
2. Who else is on the board for the Housing Authority? Is that it? 2?
Bruce.
Bruce is on, but his mic isn't working.
He raised his
Okay.
hand.
Did he raise his hand?
Yes.
Is that a yes hand raise?
Yeah. Well, man, just, I don't know.
Second. It's supposed to be roll call vote, so hand raise is not gonna do it.
Oh.
Jack,
Anthony,
We've never
Anthony,
had this problem before.
Anthony,
Yeah.
this is Paula. My concern is that Sue Herrick does not have an internet access, nor does she have reliable cell coverage at her apartment. So I don't know if that's a reason that she's not here. I did not speak with her today. Bruce, if he's having technical difficulties and a hand raised doesn't meet, I would respectfully ask that we wait until we can have all our members, which are the 4 available. Is that a possibility to table this till the next meeting?
I'm fine with that.
Fine with that too. How about the other members of the Wenham Board of Selectmen? Is everyone fine with that?
Yeah, I think that makes sense, because Bruce has a limitation right now. Maybe he can call in or something.
How about Gary, are you okay with that?
Yes, we can postpone this.
We can postpone this, thank God.
Maybe we'll do it at a separate time too, and nothing else on the agenda. I think that might be easy for everybody.
Yeah,
All right, so
Thank you.
move along then.
Thank
yeah.
you.
That's good.
Jack, the next appointment, the Council on Aging, Roseanne Rosensky, she's unable to, she withdrew. So we
That's
can
right.
do this item.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's off then. Okay.
By the way, she withdrew because she had a conflict of interest, not.
Right.
uh,
She was appointed by the town clerk as a registrar. Mass General Law, Chapter 51, Section 25 does not allow Roseanne
Right.
registrar to serve on another board in
Yeah.
town. So,
Yeah, I learned a lot about that today. So that, next is up, John Comenzi.
Yes, we have a motion for a provisional firefighter on C. So if you want, I'll make the motion and we can,
I think it's D, John, by the way. It's new business D. Go ahead.
what's that?
it's on the screen, John.
Oh, okay. All right, I move the Board of Selectmen appoint John C. Ward as a provisional call firefighter effective September 22nd, 2020.
We'll hear a second.
Second. I believe the chief is, Kavanaugh's on to introduce,
Chief, are you here to weigh in on this?
I can give you a little description on John. John is from Danvers and works for Leahy Outpatient Center in Danvers as a security guard and for the maintenance department. He also works for Northeast Regional Ambulance Service. John has been an EMT for 7 years and was also a member of the Norwell Fire Department for 7 years as a call
Wow.
firefighter.
Wow, what a good catch.
Yep, so he comes to us with some experience. So I am requesting that you appoint John C. Ward as a provisional firefighter tonight.
Are there
We'll hear a second.
any questions or comments?
ready to vote.
All right, those in favor?
We need a second on that, John. And that's why I keep saying, do I hear?
Oh, Gary,
Second,
I think Gary seconded it.
Okay, go ahead then.
All right, those in favor?
Aye. Jack Wilhelm, aye.
Gary Cheeseman, aye.
Clemenza, aye.
Chief Kavanaugh, sounds like a great applicant, great appointment. Thank you.
Thank
Ah,
you.
that's good
Thank you
find.
for the,
good find.
thank you for the vote tonight.
Thank you guys for all you do.
All right, then I'll take on E here. It's the new business. As we saw, Bill Tykes retiring, we've had some turnovers and changes in the Department of Public Works. So tonight we have approval for an update on the job description within the Department of Public Works from mechanic to mechanic group leader. And I would move that the Board of Selectmen approve the mechanic group leader job description and appoint Patrick Nolan to the position effective September 14th, 2020. Patrick is currently our mechanic out at DPW and is a essential, indispensable worker for the town of Wenham, maintaining all our vehicles to throughout the Department of Public Works. Any,
I'll second that with a comment that Bill Tyek says that he's a fantastic worker and we have to absolutely keep him. So I'm so glad that hopefully this will allow us to keep him.
any comments, John?
No, I'm very much in favor of it. I know the man from history, and he's a very, very competent mechanic.
All right, then is there a second?
I already
I will
said,
second your motion.
Then let's vote. Jack,
yes.
John,
Aye.
Gary chooses aye. Unanimous.
Okay, Gary, you have a F discussion regarding draft Wenham Human Rights Commission policy.
All right, so the human rights policy has been drafted, been proposed by the joint Hamilton-Wenham coalition. I think we have Kirsten Alexander on tonight that would like to speak to it. And I think Assistant Chief DiNapoli might want to speak as well. So perhaps we can start with those two speakers. And the policy itself, Anthony, is up on the website. Is that correct? The proposed policy?
It's in the selectmen's packet, so
All
yeah.
right, in the packets. Okay, so it's accessible. So is Kirsten on board here?
I am. Ready? Okay. Just for the record, my name is Kirsten Alexander. I live at 231 Larch Row in Wenham. On June 2nd, local citizens, in conjunction with the police departments of Wenham and Hamilton, held a solidarity march after the death of George Floyd. With only a day or two notice, more than 700 people of all ages marched, despite the risks around COVID-19. It was an incredible moment, and it was clear that people in our community care deeply about fairness, civil rights, and a more equitable future for our community and country. Out of that, there were further discussions about what more we could do. The Hamilton-Wenham Human Rights Coalition was formed, and more than 400 people expressed interest in the group, which has active committees now working on adult education, youth education, policing, events, and more. The coalition is now forming as a 501c4 nonprofit. The group members also drove the formation of the North Shore chapter of the NAACP, the largest new group in Massachusetts history. The coalition worked with the towns on the unity flag raisings for Pride Month, and most of the more than 50 Black Lives Matter signs you see all over town also came out of the group. There is real energy and interest in these issues, and also deep discussions and learning going on. We realized in our research, including looking at what the United Nations suggests around the role of local municipalities and human rights, that there were some limitations to what we could do as a nonprofit. So we reached out to the town administrators and police chiefs in both Wenham and Hamilton to propose civil rights committees that would have the weight of town governance in dealing with issues as they arise. We were delighted to get positive responses in both towns. So thank you, Anthony Asaldi, Chief Perkins, and Assistant Chief DiNapoli. Hamilton's Board of Selectmen voted to move forward with the development of an HRC, and we hope that Wenham will do the same. While many states have them, we did not find many models of small towns with human rights commissions. It is my personal hope that Wenham can become a model, inspiring other small towns to do this important work.
Thank you, Kirsten. So tonight, let me go next to Assistant Chief DiNapoli from the Wenham Police Department. And before we get onto that, I think congratulations are in order to Chief Perkins and the entire police department, and especially Assistant Chief DiNapoli. We just got our accreditation completed. Is that correct?
It is. It was a crazy week last week, and we got through it. We had a real nice on-site, and it was an incredible team effort with all the members of the Wenham Police Department and the assistants, and Chief Perkins and Detective Luke and Tony, who helped out with the accreditation. But it's the day-to-day operations of the men and women of the department that make it possible for us to receive the reaccredited status. If they didn't do their job every day, it would be a real difficult task for me as the accreditation manager to have successfully got through. So we're proud of how we did, and right back into another 3-year cycle to be ready for the next time. So it went well, but thank you.
Good. So Assistant Chief do you want to weigh in on I know right from the start of this whole project that the Wenham Police Department has been deeply involved. So do you want to add any comments onto this proposed committee?
Yeah, just incredibly proud and incredibly happy. Chief Perkins and I, given it a lot of thought, looking over the first set of ideas that had come forward and kind of morphed into where we're at right now, and taking a look from the ground, as it's worked its way into the current, setup that we have now, and to get in at this level and to be a part of the team at such a time in this country and in Massachusetts and in our community, to be in lockstep with the folks in town that are, like-minded and want to do what's best for everyone, and to keep an equal, cohesive, good vibe in town. And we're just so happy to be a part of it. I'm excited to get going on it. And we've gotten incredible feedback from, the folks in town and the members of our department and, everyone around. So it's a real important time to show that we're all in this together. And I can't think of anything better than to get rolling right out of the gates.
Thank you. So we currently have a proposed structure for the Human Rights Commission or committee. We'll see what the wording will be on that. But one outstanding question that may postpone this a bit is we're getting the legal opinion as to whether we can include an under age 18 high school student on the committee, either as a voting member or as a observer. So that's one outstanding thing. But otherwise, I think we're pretty much ready. The selectmen have had it in the package to read over, but we're thinking that given the size of Wenham and the structure, that we'll probably narrow this down to perhaps 7 members, with the police chief being an official member, and then 6 appointed from the selectmen's board. There were proposals to include council on aging and the housing authority and so forth. But I think given the size of the town, that to allocate specific slots to all these different areas would make it difficult going forward. So we'll open it up for discussion with Jack and John. But from my point of view, I'm looking for the police chief as an integral part of the committee, and then 6 members appointed by the Board of Selectmen. Jack, any comments?
I'm fine with that. Sounds good to me. Good job, Gary.
Thank you. John?
Yeah, I think your recommendation is a thoughtful one. And maybe if we get a certain amount of response from the public, it would be helpful. That will be helpful to us as to help, deciding how many other members there would be. But I think the chief being on there makes very, very good sense.
All right. Then I would propose that I spoke to Anthony, so pretty shortly we should have a legal opinion back. Anthony, is that correct, on the conditions on which we could get a high school student involved on the board as well?
Yeah, we're working on that. And Michelle Bailey just pointed out too in the chat that the school committee does have a student representative, a non-voting member. So yeah, I think we clean up that and still work with our partners in Hamilton, and hopefully the next meeting, if not, certainly the meeting after that, I think we'll be ready to move forward, hopefully sooner. But it's been a great pleasure working with the coalition and our partners in Hamilton. And Gary, you've been a great champion of this and being involved. So it's working. We're getting there. We need a little bit more time.
All right, then let's put this on with Jack's approval, put this on the agenda for next meeting for the final vote. And in the interim, we'll welcome any other public comments by email to the selectmen. But certainly this is a very important and timely issue to go forward with, and we want to get it in place hopefully before we go into the special town meeting.
Sounds good.
All right.
Good job.
Next item.
Okay, next and last item. There's 4 parts to this. It's about a special town meeting. Lots going on here. First, we have to discuss setting a meeting date and to vote on we want to reduce the quorum, potentially reduce the quorum, I should say, Currently, we have 120 voters for both the annual town meeting and the special town meeting. And that we've had several requests potentially to reduce the quorum from what it is to a lower number to ensure that we can actually have a meeting. That's been compounded recently with this citizens petition, which we'll talk about in a minute. But I think that I'm going to advance that we reduce the quorum temporarily for this meeting only. Special town meeting, 120 to 90 voters. I wanted at least a representative amount of people prior to this receiving the citizen petition last few days. We were worried about having too few voters. I think we should still go ahead, and that we'll talk about that in a minute, to reduce it from 120 to 90 only for this meeting. And that's my suggestion to my fellow selectmen, although with some trepidation, as I just said a minute ago. Any comment?
Jack, if I may, so what we have on the governor's order, you can normally, this is set in stone at town meeting and a warrant in the bylaws for 120, but under the governor's order, because of the pandemic, you're able to do this. The way that we do it is we have to post it, which we do have it posted on our website that a week in advance of taking the actual vote. So right now we have our holding next Tuesday night at 6:30 for the purpose of taking the actual vote on reducing the quorum. So you can have discussions tonight, but the vote, and if you want anybody that wants to send comments or emails into to myself for your for the next meeting, we can do that.
I'm interested in Gary's and John's comments. Gary, you have any comments?
John, you want to go first and I will?
I'm not sure I have a comment. There's been too many wags in every major decision we're making these days. So if you reduce it, to what and for why, and what will the results be? You know, we overwhelmed the tent situation the last meeting we had. Your guess is as good as mine.
Oh, we're guessing right now, John, but what we didn't want to have is a failed special town meeting, absent what we're about to talk about in a few minutes. And that by having fewer than 120 voters, and we didn't want to have a failed town meeting. And so that right now, after we talk about this citizens petition in a few minutes, I think that either we're going to be overwhelmed or we're going to be underwhelmed. And that, so this point is that let's not prepare for a special town meeting. We're guessing here, you know, that I'm definitely equivocating here, and I'm suggesting that perhaps I already said that, reduce it from 120 to 90. And we'll see. After we read our lawyer's opinion about the citizen petition, maybe we'll have a lot fewer people turning up for this. But right now,
well, that is a wild card, Jack.
It is a wild card. I got it.
Right. So I think what it comes down to is it's looking more likely that we're going to have another under the tent type meeting, which will be federal funds from the CARES Act that we're going to expend for that. That given the case, we certainly do not want to waste that money on a failed town meeting. So I think just as sort of an insurance policy, I would go ahead and reduce it to the 90. That still gives us a good representation that hopefully will have the much larger turnout as people will again feel safe under the tent if that's the way to go. And we'll kind of have that insurance that we won't have the failed meeting and waste the money. So I'll go with Jack and say, let's post it for a reduction to 90 for this one meeting.
Well said.
I agree.
Well said. Okay. So any further discussion on that amongst the other two selectmen?
Good here.
No, all set.
Okay. All in favor of this, say aye.
Gary, aye.
You can reduce,
Menzie, aye.
you're not voting to reduce the quorum. You can't reduce the quorum until next Tuesday.
That's right. We're voting
Oh.
just to tell Anthony to put it out there as an announcement, right?
Okay. All right.
Okay. Right. Okay. Next we get to the easy stuff. The citizen petition, new, Anthony.
Okay, so,
That was a
we
joke, by the way. It's not easy at all.
so we received the citizen petition just the other day. So it, and I'll read the petition. It's to require the Board of Health to adhere to state guidance for the opening and operation of schools. Let me put my glasses. See if the town will vote to require the Board of Health for the town of Wenham, BOH, to adhere to all guidance, metrics, rules, and instructions promulgated by Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, DESE, and the Massachusetts Department of Public Health, DPH, concerning the opening and operation of the schools in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts during the 2020-2021 school year and for the duration of the state of emergency in the Commonwealth regarding the COVID-19 global pandemic. In approving this article, the town hereby, 1, prohibits the Board of Health from adopting, approving, enacting, promulgating, or enforcing any guidance, metrics, rules, or instructions concerning the opening and operation of schools in the Hamilton-Wenham Regional School District, the district, more stringent than what DESE and DPH has promulgated or will promulgate for the Commonwealth. Specifically, the Board of Health is prohibited from establishing local metrics that redefine the categories of the state color-coded health metrics system based on aggregate average daily incident rate more strictly, i.e. the gray, green, yellow, and red categories set forth in the color-coded charts and maps provided by the Department of Public Health. Required that the Board of Health, 2, requires the Board of Health to use DESE key municipality standard to determine the district's alignment to the health metric established by DPH. The key municipality is defined as the municipality where the greatest percentage of enrolled students in the district reside, i.e. Hamilton. And 3, annuls any guidance, metrics, rules, or instructions previously adopted, approved, enacted, promulgated, or enforced by the Board of Health more stringent than the promulgated by DESE or DPH, including but not limited to the Board of Health's redefinition of the red category to lower the aggregate daily incident rate of less than 8 per thousand to, greater than 8 per thousand to greater than 6 per thousand people. So that's the petition that was filed, and it was filed with, I believe, 124 certified signatures by the town clerk.
Right. Wait a minute, let's go back here. So that, do we have the legal opinion?
Yeah, we do. We also have Dan Pasquarello, who's the petitioner on here, but let me pull up.
Oh, yeah, okay.
You want me to read the legal opinion first?
No, let's have Dan speak first, and then we'll read our legal opinion.
Dan,
I'm
just
sorry, who is Dan?
Dan Pasquarello.
He's the author of this. He's the author of this citizen petition, or at least.
Oh, he's a Wenham citizen. Okay.
I hope so.
Yeah, hi, John. This is Dan Pasquarello. I'm a resident of Wenham, 17 Porter Street. I'm also a member of the planning board in town.
Oh, okay. That's why your name rang a bell. Thank you.
So I am the petitioner for this particular article. I don't know how much background you'd like to hear. We did get into this, not the specific petition itself, but the reasons behind it during the joint Board of Health meeting on September 14th. So I'm happy to provide some of the background and why we're bringing forward this petition. There's a great support for this in both Wenham, and there's a parallel petition moving forward in Hamilton. So the very quick background is, you may know that our schools were slated to open on a hybrid model. And I believe the school committee finally took its last vote on September 2nd. There was notification sent out to students, for example, in the high school, which cohorts they were going to be in. And then on September 3rd, there was a press release and notification email sent out saying that we have to shut down and go to full remote because our towns have been slated as red towns under the local metrics that our joint boards of health had adopted. That was news to a lot of people that didn't know that we had local metrics that differed from what the state guidelines were. And in a nutshell, what the boards of health have done have introduced a host of metrics that are far stricter than what DESE and DPH are recommending for school districts throughout the Commonwealth. On the 14th, the boards of health walked back one of the changes that they made. They had redefined the red category from greater than 8 per 100,000 over a 2-week period to greater than 6 per 100,000 over a 1-week period. So at the what happened was when Gordon College came back and the testing picked up, there were a handful of cases that tipped Wenham under the new definition into a higher category. So under these guidelines, if you trip any one of the metrics that the local boards of health have put in place, you are required to downshift. So we went from hybrid to remote. And once you downshift, you cannot reopen, I believe, for a 3-week period. So what was walked back after there was some pushback in the community as to what was going on was the definition of the threshold itself. So the boards of health voted to move back to the greater than 8 per 100,000 from the greater than 6 per 100,000. But that was the only change that they made. There was no switch back from the 7-day to the 14-day. What the DESE standard is it's this rolling 14-day average for the incidence rate. And the reason it's a 14-day average is to smooth out these cases popping up so that you don't have school systems jumping back and forth between these models. The boards specifically voted not to switch back to the 14-day standard. And they also specifically voted not to.
Which board? The Board of Health?
The joint boards of health. Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Hamilton and Wenham. And they also specifically voted, they took 3 votes. So the third vote was to reject what's called the key municipality standard. So what DESE recommends for regional school districts like ours is that you don't look to every community, you look to the community that has the highest percentage of the students attending the school. So in this case, that's Hamilton. And the reason that that's specifically important for us is because if you follow that, you don't even look at Gordon College. So we never would have been in this situation in the first place if we were following the state guidelines, because 1, we wouldn't have included Wenham's numbers with Gordon College. And 2, the definition took us artificially low. So we wouldn't have tripped the original red category definition if we kept the state guidelines. So the part of the problem here is that there hasn't been any scientific justification put forward by the boards as to why they're adopting these stricter standards. In fact, they've already walked back, as I said, the redefinition. There was some input from a local epidemiologist. I think his name is Dr. LaRosa during the meeting, and he submitted a letter that I think is on Hamilton's website if anybody wants to look at it. And he basically said he looked at the science. There was no justification for redefining this. The boards agreed, and that was the impetus for the redefinition. But the problem is there is some disinformation going on as to what the effect of the joint meeting was. People think that the boards of health have gone back and now we're following DESE standards, and we're not. There are 6 or 7 other factors that are stricter than what state guidance says. For example, there's been an introduction of a surrounding community standard. So instead of just looking at Hamilton, they're going to measure 12 other communities. And if the rate in those surrounding communities goes above, I believe, 4 per 100,000, that will trip the metrics, and we'll have to downshift again. So the other thing that's been introduced are these compliance and interference measures, which are subjective measures. There's a compliance standard that, for example, if we are in full in-person operation, we are required to hit a 91% compliance with things like social distancing, mask use, hand washing. And the way that this is measured is by Google Forms that teachers are going to fill out daily. So the problem is the standards are very vague, the measures are very unrealistic to meet, and it's another hurdle. So the problem that we're facing is we have local metrics that are throwing up roadblocks that are going to frustrate our ability to keep our schools open, which is not what our state guidance wants. So that's background, and I won't get into every single metric that goes above and beyond what the state is requiring.
Good to hear. Good to hear.
But let me, yes, sorry, Jack, but let me just address one point quickly, because I think where you're going to go with this is you're going to listen to a legal opinion from town council who's going to tell you that even if we pass this article, it may not be binding on the boards of health, because the Board of Health is an elected board, and this may only be an advisory opinion. That may be the case. I haven't heard the legal opinion. I'm interested to hear what they have to say. Ultimately, though, this is
in a minute. You will in a minute.
I'm sure I will. Ultimately, this is a decision for the state attorney general to make if the article passes. So even if this is only an advisory measure here, it is extremely important for the citizens of the town, and I expect for the town of Hamilton to weigh in on this. Both of our boards of health and our school committee are elected boards. They should hear what the people have to say about this. It seems like the messaging hasn't been getting through so far. Again, even if this is only advisory, town meeting is the legislative body for the town. So the direct democracy voice here of the voters of the town should be heard.
Hey, Dan, John.
Yes.
Well, John, let me, Dan, John, hold on for a second. I have a pertinent question. Thank you. I understood about 25% of what you said, but it sounds like you really know what you're talking about. So I have a basic question, and the basic question is that based upon an email I received from the superintendent, Mary Beth Ben Mills, and that there's a committee formed by the Hamilton Wenham Regional School District that gets to decide issues that you just brought up, and that they can decide to accept. They can decide on the criteria whether they should do remote, in-person, or hybrid model, and that they're not bound by that. They don't report directly to surprisingly, they don't report directly to the Hamilton Wenham Regional School District Board itself, but are authorized on their own to make adjustments as to whether or not they feel it's safe to do one of the three modalities I just mentioned. Is that your understanding as well?
So I think what you're referring to, Jack, is that every school district in the Commonwealth was required to provide DESE with three models of operation. One was remote, one was hybrid, and one was in-person learning. And the school committee certainly has some leeway here as to how they were to proceed. And they did vote to go forward with a hybrid model. So the problem is when you've got the joint boards of health for the towns passing metrics and it's stamped with that imprimatur, it's going to be very hard for a school committee to vary from that metric. Okay. And in fact, if you go back and look at the press release from the regional school district on September 3rd, it literally says that they were forced to shut down due to local COVID data. They're forced to shut down. So the problem that we have with the current situation is you have the school committee and the schools pointing the finger at the Board of Health saying they forced our hand, we had to do this. And you have the Board of Health pointing the finger at the school committee saying, well, wait, this is just guidance. We weren't forcing you to do this. All the more reason to have the voters in the town come in and say, listen, we want you to follow the state guidance. We've got DESE, we've got DPH. There's been a lot of thought and expertise put into this. And a lot of these decisions are frankly above the pay grade of local towns. So we should listen and follow that state guidance.
Dan, as much as I agree.
John, hold it. I'm not finished, John. I'll get you in a minute, okay? I'm not finished with my questions. Sorry. And that, so the school board, Hamilton Wenham Regional School District Board does not opine on this. They've abdicated their entire responsibility to this subcommittee. The subcommittee does not report to directly to the board, and the subcommittee decides, as you kind of said, whether or not, what criteria they want to use. It's up to them, not to the Board of Health. So the Board of Health can say whatever they want, but this committee, even though they're swayed by our Board of Health metrics, so as you eloquently stated, but they can still decide, no, they're not going to go by this. They can decide that open, I'm making this up, the three modalities, hybrid, in-school teaching, Zoom teaching. Do you agree that they have the authority to do this?
If you're talking about the COVID response team that the school committee, I'm not even sure. I'm not sure it's the school committee. I think it may have been the superintendent that's put the team together. It's not clear to me who has actually assembled the team, which is another problem with this, Jack, because there's a lack of transparency here as to what's going on. To answer your question directly, no, I'm not sure that they have the authority to do that. I would raise with you questions about the open meeting law and whether these decisions can be made in that manner. I'm not sure the open meeting law has been followed throughout this entire process. But if it is the case that they have the authority to make this decision or the discretion to do so, then why are the Board of Health metrics posted on the website for the regional? If you go to the regional's website, they says this is what we're following, this is what we're doing.
Well, you're going to have to ask the regional school district board or this COVID-19 response team. That's beyond our jurisdiction here. But nevertheless, that's what I was advised with an email from the superintendent of the schools, that she chairs a committee that they get to decide based on input, whether they violate the open meeting law or not is beyond me. So that
and again, I don't know if that's the case, but what you're saying is there's a committee that's been formed that I don't believe is required or hasn't been meeting openly, like your board is meeting or like the boards of health are meeting. So I'm just raising the question. I think that these decisions are too important to be made, behind closed doors without the people in the town knowing what's going on. And
I couldn't agree with you more. But whether they post these meetings as open to the public, whether they comply with the open meeting laws, we have enough problems complying with the open meeting laws ourselves. But I'm just saying that this is the information we've received, and I've received, and the Board of Selectmen have received from the superintendent of schools, that she chairs this committee and they get to decide, again, I'm repeating myself, which of the three modalities is safe to go from one to the other. And so that if this hopefully is open to the public, and by the way, have you attended one of these meetings?
Which meetings?
The COVID-19 response committee meeting of the board of Hamilton Wenham Regional School District Board.
I'm not aware of any COVID-19 response team meetings that the public are able to attend. I may be mistaken about that. I have listened to several Board of Health meetings, however, and attended both of the forums. But as far as the COVID-19 response team, it's not clear to me who makes up the team. I know there's somebody from facilities. I know that the superintendent is on the COVID response team. I believe there's a member of the school committee that's on there. I'm not sure if there are any parents that are members of the team.
Gary here can I input here? So instead of back and forth here, let's look at the legal opinion and then open up to what I think is the responsible party for the school committee and the superintendent to weigh in here.
Gary, thank you. But before I do, so that have you ever attended one of these COVID-19 meetings, Dan?
I have not, no.
Have you been invited?
No.
Are they posted meetings?
I don't believe they are. I don't know, but I don't believe they are.
Well, maybe the school representatives can come on later on to talk about that. But meanwhile, John was trying to ask before Gary's suggestion of go on to the legal opinion. John had a couple of questions, which I kind of cut him off. I wanted to make sure I got my questions in as the chairman. So John, go ahead and ask your questions. John.
That's all right, Jack. You've got the prerogative. Dan, first of all, I want to thank you very much for your very informative and well thought out presentation. I've learned a lot from it. If I was a parent with children in school again today, I would probably be right there in your position. But my concern is, I don't see where the town of Wenham has a dog in this race. We don't control the schools and we don't control the Board of Health. They're governed by others. And why would we put this into a town meeting, which is going to be a very complex and complicated proposal or
John, before Dan answers it, I think that Gary Cheeseman was trying to edge me over into the legal opinion, which basically
I think that's
answer your question.
makes sense, Jack, too.
I think we should go with Gary's suggestion and go right to the legal opinion. And Anthony, would you please read the legal opinion we received today?
Yeah, so we just got this afternoon. Oh, geez, I'm gonna have to read it from over here. Kind of small.
That's pretty small.
So it says, 1 second, I gotta lower this.
Yeah, please read them verbatim, Anthony, please.
All right, so Anthony, you've requested an opinion regarding the citizens petition, the petition for submission of a warrant article to the October 17, 2020 special town meeting that seeks to require the Board of Health to adhere to state guidance for the opening and operation of schools. Specifically, the petition seeks to prohibit the Board of Health from adopting, approving, enacting, promulgating, or enforcing any guidance, metrics, rules, or instructions concerning the opening of schools in the Hamilton-Wenham Regional School District, more stringent than what DESE or DPH has promulgated or will promulgate for the Commonwealth. Further, the petition seeks to require the Board of Health to use DESE key municipality standard for assessing the district's health metrics and to annul any guidance or rules previously issues that are more stringent than DESE's or DPH's. The Board of Registrars has certified the petition has been signed by 119 voters in the town. In my opinion, the petition complies with Mass General Law, Chapter 39, Section 10, and therefore must be put on the special town meeting warrant in the manner in which it was submitted. However, it is my further opinion that this petition may only be viewed as a sense of the meeting, i.e. it's directory, not mandatory. General Law, Mass General Law, Chapter 39, Section 10 states in relevant part that the selectmen shall insert in the warrant for every special town meeting all subjects, the insertion of which shall be requested of them in writing by 100 registered voters or 10% of the total number of registered voters of the town, whichever number is lesser. The language is compulsory and requires the Board of Selectmen to place any items properly petitioned on the warrant article for the upcoming special town meeting. Kroll versus Attorney General, 3 Mass Appellate Court, 700, 1975. In my opinion, based on the registrar's certification of voters' signatures in the form of the document submitted here, the petition complies with Mass General Law, Chapter 39, Section 10, in form and substance. However, it is also well established that town meeting cannot take or compel any action that is properly subject to the discretion of the board under general laws. See Bolt versus the Town of Auburn, 303 Mass 424, 428-429 of 1939. Town meeting cannot instruct the Board of Health to appoint agents subject to appointment at their discretion under Mass General Law, Chapter 111, Section 27. The Supreme Judicial Court has held on numerous occasions that town meeting cannot exercise authority over a board when the board is acting in furtherance of a statutory duty. See Toomey versus the Town of Middleborough. Board of Selectmen not bound by town meeting shall vote to set insurance coverage premiums at a certain rate under Chapter 32B, Mass General Law, Chapter 32B. Anderson versus the Selectmen of Rentham, 406 Mass 508, 512, 1990. Same. Russell versus Canton. Town meeting can authorize but not command taking by eminent domain where legislature delegated said power to the Board of Selectmen. Here is my opinion that town meeting may not compel the Board of Health to follow DESE and DPH guidelines because investigation and prevention of the spread of infectious disease is the duty of the Board of Health under Chapter 111 of the general laws. Sections 104 and 122 of Chapter 111 authorize the Board of Health to investigate and prevent the spread of infectious diseases and any other causes of sickness, and to make regulations to protect the public health and safety from the same. These provisions of the general laws grant the Board of Health discretion to take precautionary measures and to create guidelines, rules, and regulations that are appropriate for the town to prevent the spread of disease. The petition, in my opinion, seeks to bind or restrict the manner in which the Board of Health would exercise that discretion. Therefore, consistent with the above referenced case law, it is my opinion that this petition, even if approved by town meeting, will not be binding upon the Board of Health. In summary, it is my opinion that the citizen petition exceeds the scope of town meeting's authority. Specifically, the petition may not limit the Board of Health's authority to issue guidance, rules, regulations necessary to protect the public from the spread of infectious disease. In my further opinion, where this article will have no legal consequence, the moderator may, at his discretion, choose to notify town meeting that any action taken under such an article will be directory rather than mandatory. If you have any other questions, please give me a call. Also, please note that I have flying, oh, okay. That's good. We're good.
Thank you, Anthony. Let's go back to Gary and John for questions, comments, whatever. Gary?
I feel like I've read that legal assignment before I even spoke. It stated exactly my feelings, or my understanding, limited. I don't disrespect what Dan is trying to say. I think he did a fabulous job putting it together and articulating it. But I just don't see where the town of Wenham has authority to take action on any of this.
Gary, comments?
Yes, so the way I see the summary is we have a citizen's petition, because it has the correct format, will be going to town meeting for discussion. However, it will have no effect at town meeting. So I think the logical way to proceed from here is for the petitioners to go over to what are the real decision makers, given that the Board of Health is an advisory capacity, as I see it here, and that the petitioners should go over to the school committee, who selected one of the three modalities to start and have the authority to change the modalities. So I think that we should invite the superintendent or the school committee chairman, who I think is online here, to accept the petitioners as an invitee to their meetings, because ultimately that's where the decision on what they actually want to happen is going to occur. It's not going to occur at town meetings. And so it really needs to, if you want the action, this needs to shift off the town's agenda and over to the school committee's agenda.
Yep.
Said, Gary, I agree.
Much agreed, Gary. You
By the way,
articulated very well.
Is the chairman of the, chairman of the school committee on? She's
on.
Okay. Michelle Bailey, you're on, if you're there. Hello?
So I'm not sure exactly what you want us to say, but I would like to address the allegations that there's been violation of the open meeting law. I can guarantee you that has not happened. I think you know, Jack, me more than anyone else in this town respects the open meeting law, and I would never be involved with a committee that would do something like that. So we can just put that to bed right now.
Michelle, I did not accuse you of violating.
You did not, but I am saying that accusation was just made, and I can assure you that it has not happened.
Michelle, I'm not accusing you of violating the open meeting law either. And I want to be clear about that.
It sounded as if there was a question on whether or not the open meeting law had been violated. I can guarantee you it has not. And if anyone would like to file a complaint, we would welcome it, because I am confident that we have not. So the superintendent of schools has the authority to close and open schools for the safety of children, just as she would if it was a snow day or a power outage or a sewage problem or any other concern. So the superintendent has the authority to make the decision on whether or not to move between hybrid, remote only, or even full in attendance. She is doing that under the advice of our local experts, which are the Board of Health and the team that she has assembled to advise her, which includes the public health nurses, our facilities director, because one of the important measures is whether or not we are able to access the safety supplies that we need to operate the school. She also has a member of the school committee, because that school committee member represents the parents and the people of the town. And she also has 2 members of the teachers union, because they represent the people who work in the building, who are there to be concerned about the health and safety of the children and the people working in the building. So the decision that was made based on our very first pass at these metrics. Our very first try. We never expected to hit a home run. Therefore, after making that decision, there was a reevaluation. As you would in any enterprise or any policy when you had it run through the system the first time. And most of the metrics have been changed to meet many of the DESE guidelines. I personally believe that having the surrounding communities is important, since we have so many choice students at our high school. To just base our decision on what's happening in Hamilton is irresponsible. 2/3 of our children are from Hamilton, but 1/3 of them are from somewhere else. And it's actually more like 40% are from somewhere else. Plus, our staff comes from many different districts. If I remember correctly, over 40 different towns and communities. So what's going on in the greater community is just as important as what's going on in these 2 little towns. And I guarantee you, the people who live in these 2 little towns don't stay in these 2 little towns 24/7. So while I wholeheartedly support citizens petitions, I have put them out myself. I don't believe that this particular petition would have any effect, because ultimately the decision on whether or not to have the schools open safely rests with the superintendent of the schools.
Thank you, Michelle. If I could jump in again, Jack, is that all right?
Please, yeah, please do so.
Yeah, so I think where we're at now is we have a legal opinion that the school committee has stated their position that they are in charge of this particular issue. And I would ask the petitioners to shift over there. Also, I'd like to say too, that we ought to say a special thanks to both boards of health, because, you know, we are dealing on each level, federal, state, and local, on this issue. And I don't see how you can divorce the actual local situation, which we depend upon the local board of health to define. Because to say that you're going to cut out the Gordon College numbers out of the equation, or one whole town out of the equation, or not rely on our Board of Health, who include frontline workers that have been in the hospitals taking care of these patients. And I would also say this extends beyond just the school-aged children, because this affects not just them, but all the senior citizens and everybody in the town. So I think we have to face the facts that our best medical advice are coming from local people that understand the local situation. And I would say that, you know, this whole situation, as far as the mode that we're operating in, is deference. It is a school committee decision with the superintendent. It's going to have no effect other than spending additional funds out of the CARES Act to take it to town meeting. But it looks like we're stuck at going to town meeting because of the legal situation. So in fact, what we're doing is this petition has forced us to spend CARES money that would otherwise go to protective equipment for our teachers and our students.
So Gary, can I respond to the comments? I appreciate your comments about.
Dan, just a minute. I want to amplify what Gary said. So we were planning to have our special town meeting at with the school's permission in the Buca Auditorium, so-called. Based on this petition and 114, if I have the number right, petitioners, we said no way. So we're going to have to basically go back to Pingree Park. And Anthony's working that already. Not quite as big a tent as we had before, and maybe not with the flooring, but we're going to have to spend another $25,000 or $30,000 to basically have an open meeting in Pingree Park for our special town meeting, which I'm just saying that, this is costing the town money as well. So that now, just to let the people know that we don't have the authority, no one has, including the petitioner, to remove this from the town meeting. Once 100 plus voters, citizens of Wenham sign the petition, nobody has the authority to withdraw it. So we're not even asking them to be withdrawn, but it'll be on there anyway, but it'll be moot as town council just advised us. Now back.
Yeah, can I respond to that just respectfully? I heard town council's opinion. You have an opinion from one lawyer at Copeland and Page as to what the effect of this article may be. We don't know if it's going to pass. If it does pass, it's not town council's decision as to whether it's binding or not. As you know, it would go to the state attorney general's office on that. Now, we brought this petition. We understood that it may only be advisory. And Gary, I welcome your comments that if we could shift this over to the school committee, or we could shift this over to the joint boards of health, and they could agree to come back and just follow the state guidance, that we may be able to avoid this issue. Unfortunately, what I heard from Michelle was there's no way that that's going to happen. She's dug in pretty deeply on this issue, it seems to me, based on the comments that she just provided. And she's very clear that the school committee is not going to listen to DESE as to what the guidance is, and that that DPH and DESE at the state level are balancing many other things, including the harm that we're inflicting upon our students by not letting them get back to school. So I appreciate that there are many factors to this, but we had 124 signatures on this petition in a limited amount of time. There was a lot of work put into it. 119 of those were certified, and there were many more out there that we could have put forward. So even if this is only advisory, I believe it should go forward. And I would hope that if it does pass, that the school committee and the boards of health will listen to what the voters are saying.
Right. So
Jack,
the school committee actually has public comments at the beginning of their meetings, and we have heard very limited amounts of people coming to speak on this issue. So we are always welcoming of people's input, and we're always interested in hearing from people. But ultimately, sometimes the school committee is not in charge of these things. We do not get together and decide when school is open or closed for safety. That is done by our superintendent. And we will continue to have confidence in her ability to lead the district. And she's actually here if anybody wants to hear from her.
And I'm sure that the results of this would be instructive for the superintendent as well. I'm not sure why anybody wouldn't want to have the additional information.
All right, Jack, well, I think all
I don't either.
I think all those positions have been stated, and we're just going over rehashing it. So I saw Mary Beth Ting from the Board of Health might have a comment she wanted to add, but otherwise I think it's time to move on to other business.
I agree, Gary. Mary Beth Ting, you want to talk? You want to make a comment at all?
Yes, I do. Thank you so much. I would just point out, I appreciate being attributed to the Board of Health. I'm employed by the town as the public health nurse, but I'm not a member of the Board of Health. The one thing I would like for the selectmen, as well as the petitioners, as well as all our fellow residents to know is that this has been a process. When the boards of health began, when they were asked by the school committee to please try to provide some information to the school committee to help guide the decision-making about moving between models of learning, that was back in July. And at that time, there was nothing available from the state. And so I was working along with the Board of Health members to look at other states' guidance. We were looking at, all kinds of places, Minnesota and Tennessee and Colorado, to try to figure out what types of things to put into place to make good metrics. And there were some things about what do you need to be looking at externally, what's happening outside of the school building that makes you make a decision, as well as what's happening internally. And Mr. Pasquarello referenced the, how well is the school doing in terms of following along with the mitigation strategies, because it would be worrisome if day after day after day, despite trying to teach students and teachers to use the mitigation strategies, it wasn't happening. That put together with other metrics would be a cause for concern. So the one thing I would just add that I heard just on the call today from the Departments of Public Health, and I believe the selectmen, you should have received the notes that I take from those meetings, at least from today's, is that DESE is very, very clear that they've been saying for weeks now that they really do want the school districts to be working closely with the boards of health, because they don't want to make decisions statewide. That's just a decision that's been made in the state of Massachusetts, and it's not going to be a statewide decision, that it's going to be a municipality by municipality. And DESE has made it clear that they don't feel that they have all the information to make local decisions, that they want school committees to work with local boards of health, and they're making it clear other constituencies as well. So, parent groups, whoever, they're wanting school committees to work, or school districts to work with the local constituencies to make the best and safest decisions. And they have made it clear that there may be, in different communities, other things aside from the color-coded metrics that different communities might need to pull into their decision making to inform, that superintendents will need to take that information to inform the decision. So that's all I wanted to say. And I'm always available for questions and can be contacted through the town website, my email address, my phone. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mary Beth. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Dan Pasquarelli. I'm going to take Gary Cheeseman's suggestion that we've talked to this. I think we've covered.
Jack, one second, Jack. I think we specifically invited the superintendent, so we ought to offer her a chance to weigh in and wrap it up after that. Yes?
Okay.
All right.
John?
Thank you so much, and I'll be brief.
I don't see her. Is she on someplace?
Yes,
I don't
speaking.
see my.
Is she visually? I don't
Here
see.
I am, Jack.
There you are.
There we go.
Oh, there we go.
I'll be brief. I know that this is a very difficult issue for our communities. A couple things. I want to echo Mary Beth's comments that when we began this process, there were no metrics from the state, and we really felt like we needed guidance as to how to make good decisions around that. And I have a great deal of gratitude for the effort that the boards of health put forth in trying to make this happen. As Michelle Bailey mentioned, it is a learning process. We got guidance just last week that looking now from the state to have 3 weeks of trend data, if that had been as clear as it is now, we probably would have made a different decision. So we are learning from this. And we also know that there is a wide range of perspectives around this particular issue in the community. We're trying to balance all of them, but ultimately looking at data to make our decisions. I do want to let our community know that we are now posting the weekly data that is coming out so that they can see what the trend lines are, so that what we are trying to avoid moving forward is any kind of sudden change, that we will hopefully be seeing trends that will allow us to alert the community that those trends are occurring and that a shift may be necessary. I do want to let our communities know that data is available on the website. We will be revisiting the data as we said we would when we made the decision on Thursday, which will be September 24th. And at that time, we will announce the direction that we'll take based on the trend line. Very quickly, I will just share with the community that the current trends are signaling that we will move back into the hybrid mode as of October 1st.
Thank you. Jack, you got it? Correct.
Yep, thank you. I think that we've talked this one pretty completely. So thank you everyone for participating. Mary Beth, Michelle, Dan, everybody else, and that we're moving on to the citizens petition will be presented at town meeting, and that will be to be discussion at it, and that although you understand now it's advisory according to our words, but Dan basically said we could go to the Attorney General, and Attorney General could advise differently than I always have. We'll see. So we want to review the potential vote to make recommendations on the articles. We don't have to make recommendations on these, but it's optional in that. So I'm going to go through each one of these and one at a time, and that ask my colleagues what they think of whether they want to vote yay, nay, or abstain on each one. So use of free cash to fund the fiscal 2021 capital improvement program. The board article recommendation is to move the Board of Selectmen vote favorably or not. Action for the use of free cash to fund fiscal 2021 capital improvement program article. Do I have any comments? My other two fellow selectmen.
I would just go favorable on this. No
I
real
would too.
comment.
John?
Yeah, I think I would do the same thing.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we approve this article with a favorable recommendation by all three selectmen. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. I'm going to move through some of these quickly. Transfer from the water surplus for water-related supervisory control and data acquisition, SCADA, if I'm pronouncing it right, software. Move that the Board of Selectmen vote favorably or unfavorably action for the transfer from the water surplus for water-related supervisory control and data acquisition, hardware and software article. This is an annual article, by the way. It sounds complicated, but anyway. So I'm going to make a motion that we vote favorably on this. Do I have any comments or other comments from my two fellow selectmen?
Gary votes aye.
John votes aye. It's just simply a money transfer.
Yeah. So I vote. So it's all three selectmen vote favorably on that. Good. Bylaw amendment, recodified general bylaws. Move that the Board of Selectmen vote favorably on action on the bylaw amendment, recodified general bylaws article. So if we don't vote favorably in this, Paul Weaver will wish us all very ill will.
So aye, right here, double aye.
Clemenza, aye.
Oh my. And by the way, Paul Weaver will be here himself to make those recommendations and answer any questions.
That's right. It's a long trip.
I have to, it's a long trip from Seattle. I think it's where move the Board of Selectmen vote zoning bylaw amendment. I think we just did that. So
This is zoning bylaws. So
Oh,
this is the second part.
move the Board of Selectmen vote action for the zoning bylaw amendment, recodified zoning bylaw article. This is a sister to the other one. So any questions, comments on this? Anybody want more information before we vote?
I vote aye.
John?
Gary,
Aye.
Jack Will, aye, it's unanimous. Next.
Local adoption meals tax.
Okay, I'm going to slow down on this one a little bit here. I move the Board of Selectmen vote action for local adoption of meals excise tax article. I'm going to turn this back to you, Anthony, to describe this.
All right, so basically, Wenham is one of minority of communities that hasn't adopted the local adoption meals tax. So on the slide in front of you, talks about the current meals tax rate is 6.25. So that means if you go out and get a $10 meal, it's going to cost $10.63, of which all the tax goes to the Commonwealth, the 63 cents. So if we adopt the local meals tax, local option, the meals tax rate will go from 6.25 to 7. So it's a 0.75%. So that $10 meal will now cost $10.70. The state gets 62.5 cents and we get 7.5 cents. So if we do this, I would anticipate, based on the data from a year and a half ago, that this would be an additional revenue of about $15,000 to Wenham.
Where would you come up with that figure?
Massachusetts Department of Revenue.
We don't have meals being served somewhere.
We do.
Well, the tea house closed.
We had it at the bagel shop. We had it at Grassy Roots. We had it at the coffee shop. We had it at Gordon College. So based on the data that's submitted on those tax returns for those businesses, Wenham's share of revenue that is lost right now because you haven't adopted this is $15,000. So this is an opportunity for town meeting to vote. If they want to adopt this, that it would generate an extra $15,000 for the town. It's 0.75%.
Any further questions, John?
No, I just don't, it just doesn't seem right. How they come up with 15,000 is beyond me.
Well, obviously, you're not eating at the local establishment, John, like the rest of us. But anyway, Gary?
Well, I'm trying to figure out where to go. I've been to the bagel shop a couple of times and I've been to Grassy Roots.
Well, you got to eat more then.
I don't know where else to go.
So I think we'll go in favor of this because the citizenry ought to understand that this has no administrative overhead for the town, that this is money will be collected by the state, returned to us by the state with no cost to us. And given that, I expect a certain portion is going to be from out of towners buying our meals, if you will, and a lot of it is Gordon College. I would say let's go for the extra 15,000. We can certainly use it, and I would recommend favorable action by the selectmen.
I do as well. John?
I'm glad you said that, Gary. So you're indicating that some of this revenue would be coming from the meals at Gordon College?
Yes, that's what Anthony said, that,
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed that.
yes.
Yeah.
So it's not just our little things. A lot of it's Gordon College, right?
Then that's fine. I'll go along with it. I'm fine.
I would, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Gary?
Aye, Gary.
John?
Menzie.
Jack Wilhelm, aye. Thank you. Local adoption of the rural occupancy tax. Move the board of selectmen vote.
Oops, sorry.
Action on the local adoption of room occupancy article. Anthony, you want to describe this in more detail?
Sure. Similar to what Gary just said about the meals tax, this is nothing that we have to do. There's no overhead here. This is room occupancy tax. So there are locations in town that have been on Airbnb, renting out a room and so forth. So right now, the current room occupancy tax rate in Massachusetts is 5.7%. So on a $100 room, they're going to charge you tax of $5.70, of which all of that tax goes to the Commonwealth. If this is adopted, the tax rate will go to 6%. So it's only a 0.3% different. And we will get 30 cents on, so if a $100 room, it costs 106, $5.70 goes to the state, 30 cents goes to the town. Granted, this one, I don't have any financial data on. It's going to be very low, but maybe with a little luck, a hotel will go up at Boulder Lane, and this will be.
Yeah, I'm working on that, Anthony. I'm working on it.
Oh, that'll be a big help. That way, hopefully they have a restaurant, Jack.
Yeah, a lot of rocks out there to move for us, but yes. Any comments, Gary?
Nope, let's go favorable on this.
John?
I agree with Gary.
I agree with both of you. I'm all in favor. Aye.
Aye.
Menzie, aye.
Okay, easement for National Grid on town Wenham property. Boy, move that the board of selectmen vote to insert the easement for National Grid on town of Wenham property article under the warrant for October 7, 2020 special town meeting, subject to approval as to form by town council. The move the board of selectmen vote favorable, unfavorable action on the easement of National Grid on town of Wenham property article. Anthony, I'll trip this back to you for a more elaborate explanation.
Sure. So probably about a month ago, maybe 6 weeks ago, we had the request that the food pantry at the farm they use, they wanted to put a refrigerator system there so the produce can stay fresher. So the Board of Selectmen granted the easement, but it's town meeting that really authorizes. So you grant a license to do it until town meeting really blesses this and says yes. So this is step two. Step one, you've already done by letting that pole go there and electricity be on the property. So this is now goes to town meeting for the okay there.
Thank you. Any comments, Gary?
No.
John?
I'm all set.
Let's all vote. I'm voting in favor. Gary?
In favor.
John?
Menzie, yes.
Okay, all three of us voted in favor of that. Thank you.
So let me just back up. So this is the first citizen petition, Jack.
Go ahead.
The one that this is the current executive powers of the town of Wenham shall be vested in a 3-member board of selectmen elected for 3-year rotating terms. The proposed change is executive powers of the town of Wenham shall be vested in a 5-member board of selectmen elected for 3-year rotating terms. This citizen petition has also been deemed by town council to be non-binding, so it's just, but they had the necessary signatures to be put on the annual town meeting, of which we asked the petitioner if we could move it to the special because of the pandemic. He did, so this is that article.
I think we need to describe this a little further, so that the petitioner needed to go through a process with the state in order to move us from 3 selectmen to 5 selectmen. And the petition didn't do that. And so that whether this passes or fails, even if it passes, it's not going to require the town to move from 3 selectmen to 5 selectmen. Am I summarizing that correctly, Anthony?
That's correct.
Okay. So I'm going to move the Board of Selectmen vote action for the citizens petition article. And I'm going to start by voting no. I vote unfavorable action.
Likewise for Gary, I vote unfavorable on this.
John?
I agree, because I've already looked at the statistics of other municipalities of our size, and we would be in the very significant minority.
Just and amplify that, John's comments, that I was provided statistics from the state that for towns populations of 5,000 or less, and excluding Gordon College, are about 3,800, 94% of all towns in Massachusetts have 3-member board of selectmen, not 5. As you move up to much greater population densities, the thing shifts, the numbers shift more towards 5 when you get up to 100,000, 150,000, and so forth. But anyway, we have 3 selectmen voting unfavorable action on this, and so we'll move on to number 9.
So this is obviously the citizen petition that you guys just discussed in length.
Okay, move the Board of Selectmen vote unfavorable action on the citizens petition article we just discussed. I'm going to start out by voting I no, and that I'll move it to Gary and John.
So
No.
it's going to be on the agenda, on the warrant, but I would vote unfavorable for this.
John?
The same, unfavorable.
Okay, it's unanimous. All 3 of us vote unfavorable action. Hopefully we can all vote favorably this one. Move the Board of Selectmen vote pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 39, subsection 10, to close the warrant for the special town meeting on Saturday, October 17, 2020, at Pingree Park, starting at 10 a.m. and to direct that the constable to post said warrant forthwith. Do I hear a second?
Anthony, I think's got a comment first there, does he?
Just to explain it, so you've taken a vote before to have the meeting at the Buca School, but because of obviously everything that you discussed tonight in the citizen petition, the safest way for us to hold a special town meeting is at Pingree Park. So this motion really solidifies that. Number one, you're closing the warrant, but number 2, it specifically says Pingree Park on Saturday, October 17th at 10 a.m. The only thing I want to bring up to you, in case you want to change it, is Lauren has another commitment that day. So we would have Mark Reich, who would represent KP for us. If you really wanted Lauren, she said it would have to be late afternoon at 3 o'clock or so.
I want to keep it at 10. You know,
Yeah.
people want to get.
Just want to make sure everybody was aware of all the changes.
I mean, that's just my opinion. We'll take the number 2 person in KMP law, but and that as I said about half an hour ago, the reason we're doing this, we would have preferred to have it at no cost to us at the Bucher Auditorium gym, but based on the article we just talked about at length earlier about the school business and I think that we can expect whether or not I think we're anticipating a lot of people coming out and expressing their opinion on what we heard earlier tonight about the school COVID-19 issue. I'll call it, lack of. So that's where we don't want to have a failed town meeting where we couldn't accommodate everyone who wanted to arrive, and then have it in November or December or some other time. So. It's safer to have it outside anyway, and hopefully it won't be too cold. So that's why this past week, after we received this article, we changed our minds, and that at least Anthony and I did, and that to move it to Pingree Park, and that we had a successful meeting there earlier this year on July 11th. We don't expect to have to rent a tent that large, but so that's why we're going to have the meeting there. So do I hear a second on this?
Second.
John? Is he frozen? You agree, John?
I'm here. What was the?
Voting on to close the warrant, John, and that.
Oh, I want to close the warrant. I'm disappointed that we are considering putting a tent up again.
Well, I am too, but you know, we can't have a failed town meeting, and so that.
I get it. I'm sorry. I'm just.
Well, I'm disappointed too. I don't want to $25,000 or $30,000. So all in favor?
Okay.
Aye.
Gary, aye.
Menzie, aye.
Okay, I think we're done.
Let me look at that. I'm sorry. Gazebo.
Well, we're going to pass on this.
Oh.
Gary, about that, or John?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, if I might, we had a public hearing which gave us a lot of favorable responses, but there's been some new information that's come in over the last day or two that I've not had time to explore. It might even be a different location, a couple of location possibilities. So I think I'd put this off till our next meeting.
I agree. Gary?
That's fine with me. Yes.
Fine with me as well.
So I think I have this one. So we had the public hearing too on the update to the employee handbook that covered the first three areas of ongoing changes to the handbook. So covered the equal opportunity and anti-discrimination and harassment policies, the electronic communications policy, and the family medical leave. Most of the, in fact, almost all the discussion was on point one. We listened, heard some things. We've talked to council, but I think we can probably go ahead with the handbook as published, given that the main concern about whether this covered committees and other elected officials is handled under the fact that employee under Massachusetts state law is a broad definition. So just like your ethics training, that this will apply to all the personnel involved in the government here in Wenham, committees and as so forth. So I think we can go ahead with this as it was originally published last time for the public hearing.
Move to the vote.
Gary, I don't have a vote on this, so if you want to pull one together.
All right, then we need an actual motion on this then. I
Yes.
move that the Board of Selectmen accept the changes to the employee handbook covering the three items of equal employment opportunity and discrimination harassment policy. Secondly, the electronic communication information technology acceptable usage policy and the Family Medical Leave Act as drafted prior to the public hearing.
I'll second your motion, Gary.
All in favor?
Gary, aye.
Clemenza, aye.
Jack Wilhelm, aye.
Your favorite one, Jack.
We have not reasonably anticipated anything new, so that I move that we adjourn the meeting. It's now 8:19.
I'll second your motion.
All in favor?
Aye, Clemenza.
Aye, we're done.